أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين توفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم قالوا فيم كنتم قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض قالوا ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة فتهاجروا فيها فأولئك مأواهم جهنم وساءت مصيرا إلا المستضعفين من الرجال والنساء والولدان لا يستطيعون حيلة ولا يهتدون سبيلا فأولئك عسى الله أن يعفو عنهم وكان الله عفوا غفورا ومن يهاجر في سبيل الله يجد في الأرض مراغما كثيرا وسعة ومن يخرج من بيته مهاجرا إلى الله ورسوله ثم يدركه الموت فقد وقع أجره على الله وكان الله غفورا رحيما صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغ رسوله النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه
وسلم. So, Brother Faiz, thank you for this beautiful recitation. Allah give you jaza and keep you healthy, inshallah. This beautiful passage deals with a topic of hijrat, or the migration of Muslims from Makkah to Medina in different parts where Muslims were not given the religious freedom into Medina. This calendar that we use, it's called Hijri calendar because it starts with the date that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, the year that he did Hijrat from Makkah to Medina. It was Hazrat Umar Farooq time that it was a time that the Muslim Khilafat had expanded so much into Persia and in a great part of the Roman Empire and to the Egypt, that there was a need for to establish a calendar, Islamic calendar. And when there was a council when to start a new Muslim calendar, so everybody pointed out the glory of Islam actually happened through the Hijrah. And the Hijrah, when Sayyidina Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam migrated to Medina, and the first time Islamic state was established, that's when the political glory, the religious freedoms that started. And after 10 years, when after doing Hijrat, Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he made his journey to Taif. It was the 10th year of Hijrat, but Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was disappointed at the attitude of Taif. And the same year, 10th year of Nabuwat, his beloved uncle Abu Talib passed away, and his beloved wife Bibi Khadija passed away. So that was the 10th year of Hijrat. Is also called the year of sorrows, because it was a very hard year for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because when he was totally disappointed at the conditions of the spiritual condition of Makkah, he wanted to give this dawah to people of Taif, but the attitude of people of Taif was even more disappointing, and also lost of his famous supporters, his uncle Abu Talib and his beloved wife, the main supporter of Islam, Bibi Khadija. So 3 years from then, on the 13th year of Nabuwwat, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when 11th year of Hijrah of Nabuwwat, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went to journey of Miraj, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala on this Miraj journey promised Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam a good time, a glad tidings is coming for the glory of Islam and from the propagation of Islam. And when he came, so the light of Islam spread to Medina, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam started giving permission to Muslims to migrate to Medina. And by the 13th year of Nabuwwat, almost everybody had left for Medina except Sayyidina Ali, Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself. Other than these three people, there were hardly any Muslims, except those Muslims who were too weak, too old, or too financially weak, who cannot make a journey. But other than that, all the Muslims have migrated, and it was spearheaded. The propagation of Islam was spearheaded by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam appointed Sahabi, or the Muallim, Mus'ab bin Umair, and he was a very rich Sahabi and very scholarly. But when he converted to Islam at a very young age, so his family disowned him and put all kind of problems for him. But he was steadfast. He learned great deal of ilm from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And when the spread of Islam spread to Medina, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent before himself Mus'ab bin Umair, a scholarly Sahabi, and he, with his beautiful recitation, through his steadfast teachings, so all the Medina was converted to Islam. And when Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq seek permission to migrate to Medina, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told him to hold off. He said that I am expecting Allah will give me permission to migrate from Makkah to Medina. So Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq asked that, would I be lucky enough to get the permission to accompany you to Medina? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, after a few days, said that Allah has given me permission to migrate to Medina. And Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he prepared basically all the things for the journey. He bought 2 camels. One she camel was he wanted to gift it to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Her name was Qasfa, but Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam refused to take it free as a gift and gave 400 dirham to Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. And that's how the famous miraculous she camel Qaswa came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And there was another camel, she camel, that Sayyidina Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he used it himself. But they could not just directly go to Medina. So they, instead of going north, which is Medina, they went to south to a mountain called Sur. And in this mountain of Sur, there was a cave called Cave of Sur. They took a refuge in that cave for 3 days. And after that, they restarted the journey northbound to Medina. And when they started this journey northbound, it was something that, that took them a little, because they had avoided the major highways. That was a thing, because that was most probably that Quraysh would have followed him. So the first stop, when after taking a refuge in Mount Sur for 3 days, they went, and in the suburb of Makkah, there is a place called Qadeer. And when they went, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq was there, Nabi Sallallahu was there, and their non-Muslim travel guide, his name was Abdul bin Arikhat, he was there. And when they went to, so there was an elderly lady named Ma'bud. So that was their first stop after Sur into their journey toward Medina. And when they went there, so Ma'bud, she used to sell different things to the travelers, and that's how she would make a living. But at that time, she had nothing to offer to the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq. But there was a goat in the courtyard of Ma'bud. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that if you allow me, I will milk this goat. So Ma'bud said that, this goat doesn't give milk, but if you want to try. So it is when the miraculous hand of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam touched the goat of Ma'bud, the udder of that goat started giving milk. And that goat, it was a very old goat, but she gave so much milk that all the utensils in the Ma'bud house, they were filled. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam drank that milk. Hazrat Abu Bakr drank that milk. His travel guide, Abdullah bin Arikhat, drank it, and all the household of Ma'bud drank from that milk. So today, she was living an impoverished life. But today in the Sirat books, all the physical description of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is mostly narrated from Ma'bud. And when Abu Ma'bud, the husband of Ma'bud, he came to the house, and when he saw the milk, all the utensils or all the vessels in the household are filled with milk, says that, Ma'bud, how did this milk come? So she described that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, a very blessed person came to her house, and she related all the miracles thing that or elderly goat that could not give milk, gave so much milk that you see all those vessels full of milk. So her husband, Abu Ma'bud, said that, give me some description of that blessed person so I can find him. So then Ma'bud, she described Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and that is mostly narrated all the Sirat books. So she said he was a very handsome person, and there was an aura of a gracefulness to him. And she described as Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and the 3 words she used was Hasin, Hasin, and Wasim. Hasin is a person, that face of that person is beautiful. So she described Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that person who came to her house was very Hasin, a very beautiful face. And then she said Hasin. Hasin is person whose physique or is very handsome. Like, for example, in English we say very handsome, very well-built person. The build, the whole, not only face, but the whole body of that person is very beautiful. And then third word she used is Wasim. Wasim is a beautiful person. You never get tired of looking at him. So she described Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as Hasin, Hasin, and Wasim. And that's how that thing was. So we were talking about Hijrat. So when Nabi Muhammad himself went to Medina, and Medina, when Islamic State was established, so all the Muslims who were suffering from the prosecution in Mecca, they were also ordered to migrate to Medina, where they can practice their religion freely. So Nabi Karim established Islamic State in Medina, and when he established Islamic State in Medina, so what Muslims who were prosecuted for a long time, for the first time, they got the religious freedom. And Nabi Karim also granted the full religious freedom to the non-Muslims that were living in Medina, that was Jews and even the idol worshippers. They were given the full freedom. But some of them, hypocritically, they said that, okay, we want to convert to Islam, and a small band of them, they want to undermine Islam, and they claim themselves they converted to Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing those people who never made it hijrat, although they had all the resources and they could do it. So when these angels would come and take away their soul, so they will ask that what conditions you are living. So those people who are living in Makkah, they said, oh, we were oppressed people. So these angels would say, when the land of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was vast enough, you could have migrated. And when, so instead of getting any sympathy from the angels, angels will condemn them that, you could have migrated and you would have found the land, Medina, as very vast and, open for everything. And when Nabi Muhammad migrated to Medina, Medina itself was a very impoverished town, but through his blessing, it became very prosperous soon, and it became a hub of trade. Before, it was very agrarian society, but with Nabi Muhammad and those muhajirs, those people who were those local people of Medina, they were given the title of Ansar, means helpers, and they became helpers. And those people who migrated for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his prophet, they were called Muhajirun. And when the first battle happened, the battle of Badr, and so Nabi Muhammad would make the regiments into the same formation, that a flag will be given to all the Muhajiruns. So the regiment of Muhajir was different, and one regiment was of Banu Hazrat, which was a subtype of Ansar, and Banu. So there were usually three divisions in the Islamic things: Muhajir, Aus, and Hazrat. So that's how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would divide all his armies in. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, إِلَّا الْمُسْتَضْعِفِينَ مِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَالنِّسَاءِ وَالْوِلْدَانِ لَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ حِيلَةً وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ سَبِيلًا. But except for those oppressed people in Mecca, who did not, among men, among women, and among the children, who could not find any resources to migrate. And there were some people who could never make it, and none other than was the eldest daughter of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Bibi Zainab. She was trapped in Makkah, and when she was trapped in Makkah, she wanted to move. So she said that I want to move to Medina. And when she was going, she she started riding a she-camel. But when Quraysh came, they came and they gave a jolt to the she-camel, and she was expecting, she was pregnant, and she fell off. Bibi Zainab, she fell off from the she-camel, and that really injured her. And from the same complication, she eventually passed away. She was one of the most beloved daughter. She was the oldest daughter of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and there were other daughters, Bibi Fatima being the youngest daughter. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam loved everybody, all his children, but Bibi Zainab and Bibi Fatima had a special place in heart of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and she succumbed to the injuries. And she wanted to make it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, those who could not find those things. Another exception was Hazrat Abbas, the uncle of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the second year of Hijrat, that when the battle of Badr, he came from the Quraysh side and he was captured. And before he went to the this expedition of Badr from the Quraysh side, so what he did, his wife name was Fazl. That was an aunt of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and she was early convert. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he was going on the journey, so Hazrat Abbas, he told his wife Fazl that, you know, if something happened to me in this battle, you should give so much money to my such and such son, such and such money to that. And he gave the detailed description. In the battle of Badr, he was captured and brought to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And in Badr, what was happening, that each chief of Quraysh, they had taken the responsibility of feeding the 1,000 strong army, and they were taking turns, that one day Abu Jahl would do, another day Adba will do, another third day would Sheba would do. So he had so much gold in his possession, and his turn never came to feed the army. So the gold that was with Hazrat Abbas, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Muslims confiscated and put it in the Baitul Mal. And he says that, you know, give this fidya, or, you know, this money for the to salvage yourself from this custody. So he said that, what money? I do not have any money. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to his uncle that, what happened to the money when you told Fazl, your wife, that if something happened to me, give so much money to him, so much money to him, and all that. So Hazrat Abbas, he testified, I testified that you are indeed the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And nobody knew about this conversation between me and my wife. So when you knew it, so he converted to Islam, but he said he seek a permission to stay in the Makkah. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave him the permission to stay in Makkah. So his exception is different. Why? What was the hikmah, or what was the wisdom behind it? Allah and his Prophet knows the best. But in many instances, when the Quraysh were plotting to attack Medina, Hazrat Abbas, he did not divulge his iman to the Quraysh clan, and he would give information to Muslims through a secret courier that what was happening. So all the plots the Quraysh was doing, so Hazrat Abbas will give them all the information about that. But the general rule was that all the Muslims, in order to practice their religion, you know, they had to migrate to Medina. And that continued to the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. What happened? That in the second year of Hijrat, Quraysh attacked Medina, and in the halfway between Mecca and Medina, in the Battle of Badr, the famous Battle of Badr took place. In the second year, in the third year, Battle of Ahad took place, and that was fought right in the vicinity of Medina. Badr was in the midway between Mecca and Medina, but Ahad was fought right, the mountain Ahad. It is right in the suburb of Medina, and that's why. And what had happened, that in the fourth year, no major conflict took place between Muslims and Quraysh. But in the fifth year of Hijrat, what had happened, Quraysh had assembled all the tribes, not only themselves, but they had assembled all the tribes of Arabia, and they attacked Medina. And that's why the confederation of tribe, the word is Ahzab. So that's why the Quran, there's a surah in Quran called Surah Al-Ahzab. Ahzab means the confederation. So Ahzab took place in the 5th year of Hijrat. So there's a surah called Ahzab, but this battle is also called the Battle of Trench or Battle of Khandaq. And Khandaq means trench. So these are the two words that are used to describe this battle. And 6 months after this battle, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam invited the Muslims to go for the pilgrimage. And about 1400 strong caravan went from Makkah all the way to, from Medina to Makkah. And Muslims were stopped. So Quraysh gave a 200 strong cavalry regiment to Khalid bin Walid to go and stop Muslims from performing pilgrimage. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had camped in a ground called Hudaybiyah. And when he camped in Hudaybiyah, Khalid bin Walid, he was not Muslims at that time. His brother Walid bin Walid had accepted Islam, so he knew something about Islam, how Muslims perform namaz and all that. So he had made a plan that when Muslims will go for their namaz, that's when I will ambush them, attack them, especially when they go in the ruku. But very recently, the command of Salatul Khawf or Namaz-e-Khawf had come, in which Muslims would split their congregation into two groups. One group will stand guard and another group will perform namaz, and then they will take turn. So Khalid bin Walid, he tried to ambush the Muslim, all the Muslim congregation. So he found Muslims performing Salatul Khawf. So he said that first light of Iman emerged in my heart when I saw Muslims performing Salatul Khawf, because the strategy he had in his mind, he had not told anybody. He had 200 horsemen in his command. So he said that indeed he would be the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How else he would know about my plan? Anyway, so in this Hudaybiyah, what had happened to Muhajir, those people who were migrating from Makkah to Medina? So according to this agreement, any Muslims, because Muslims will secretly, escape from Makkah and make their way to Medina, except, Hazrat Abbas, who had concealed his Iman, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had given him permission to stay in Makkah. But now, the very scribe who had come for the negotiation with Muslims, so his own son had accepted Islam. So when his father, the scribe on the Quraysh side, he said that, that's the deal, that any of us, any of the Quraysh person, he accepted Islam and want to migrate to Medina, you will return it to him. And if any of you revert back to your old religion, means idol worshipping, so, we will give him refuge in Makkah. And so when the very scribe of that thing, he had accepted Islam, and his father, the scribe, he had imprisoned him in Makkah and by chaining him. But somehow he escaped from his own house, and when his father was negotiating, so he came back running right to the ground. So he said that, I'm a Muslim, and he pleaded with all the Muslims, help me out. My father has tortured me, and he showed all the wounds in his body. That's how it is. So that moved the 1400 strong, all the thing. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that, that to the scribe, that, your son is here, and let him come with us, because the deal has not been signed. So the scribe said that, no, if you want the deal and you want a signature of the famous, Treaty of Hudaybiyah, I will not sign it unless, you return my son to me. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, so this is something that had moved, even the great Sahabas, they had difficulty understanding that one of the Sahabi whose own father has tortured him, and he's coming and all that. So what had happened, that they did not understand this treaty. What kind of deal is that? Some of the people thought that, if any of us, Muslims, come to Medina, so basically it would stop all the, immigration from Makkah to Medina. So, but Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam signed the deal. And these Sahabis, they were some kind of not understanding in that. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we give you a clear victory. Inna fatahana fatham mubina. We gave you a clear victory. And how did this? So some Sahabas did not understand what kind of victory is that. These conditions look all in favor of Quraysh. So what happened? Look at the deal, but how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave clear victory to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So they say, okay, this immigration has been stopped, this hijrat or mahajirat from Makkah to Medina. So some people started escaping from Makkah and they tried to come to Medina, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, according to the deal, you cannot live here. So, you can find any place. So what they started doing, they said their properties were confiscated and taken away. So they started taking refuge in the major trade routes of between Makkah and Medina. And what they did, they say that if you do not let us practice our religion, what we will do, we will go and stop you from trading. And they start. So this Quraysh delegation came to Medina itself, and they pleaded with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that any of us escape, they convert to Islam. So that's how the Hijrat re-established. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, Inna fatana laka fatham mubina. We had given you. So although at that time Sahabas did not understand what kind of deal is that, but when they realized the hikmah or the wisdom of that the very Quraysh, they came and pleaded with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, let these Sahabis who had converted to live that. So that's how they themselves, said that, or take away this condition from. And that's how Hijrat really established. And in only 2 years, the deal was signed in the 6th year of Hijrat. And by 8th year of Hijrat, what they did, that Quraysh themselves violated the treaty. According to their treaty, all the independent tribes other than Quraysh and Muslims in Medina, any tribe could take a side with any of the sides. So Banu Bakr, that was an allied tribe of Quraysh, what they had done, they had signed an alliance deal with Quraysh. And Banu Qaza, they had converted to Islam and signed a deal with Muslims. So in the 8th year, when Banu Bakr, they attacked Banu Qaza and they slaughtered a good number of them. So Banu Qaza pleaded with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, even in that time when they had clearly violated the treaty, he demanded a blood money, or he put some condition, but they say we would not accept it. So in 8 years of Hijrat, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam set out with 10,000 strong army. So in these 2 years, what had happened, that when that Hijrat between Makkah and Medina had re-established at the request of Quraysh, because they did not want Muslims to stop their trade with Syria and Iraq. So that's what happened. And when they find out that so that was a free movement, Muslims could come to Makkah and live there, and because they were already relatives, so people from Makkah, non-Muslims, could come to Medina. And this interaction converted so many people that when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, came to Medina on the conquest of Makkah, 10,000 strong army was there. And that's how people understand the wisdom. Inna fatana laka fatham mubina. We granted you a clear victory. So that is the clear thing. And after Fatah Makkah, when Islamic State extended from Medina to Makkah, so this hijrah, or the migration from Makkah, Medina, that was no longer a wajib, because before that, in order to practice your religion, in order to give your zakat, to perform namaz and all that, so all the idols were clear of from Khane Kaaba, and Islamic State was established in Makkah itself at 8th year of Hijri. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing those people who were stranded, that is before the Fatah Makkah, that they could not find any way of migrating to Medina. فَأُولَٰئِكَ عَسَى اللَّهِ أَن يَعْفُوَ عَنْهُمْ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَفُوًّا غَفُورًا. And Allah is the forgiving, is most forgives again and again. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is this like وَمَن يُهَاجِرُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يَجِدْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُرَاغِمًا كَثِيرًا وَاسْعًا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that those people who have come to, for they have migrated for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would have found that a land very wide. Wide means in terms of opportunity, in terms of religious freedom. And but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that what kind of migration? That famous hadith in Bukhari Sharif, that which says that innamal amalu binniyat. This is a long hadith, but the essence of that is innamal amalu binniyat. One day, one person came from Makkah to Medina, and when he was asked, why have you migrated from Makkah to Medina? He says that, I know that all the people are migrating, the Muslims, and I'm wondering that, if I can find a suitable match and, I can marry some lady, Muslim lady here. So that's when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that, who are migrated. So this is the hijrat, the people for the Allah and His Prophet, to find the religious freedom, to practice your religion. So anybody had some worldly benefit in mind that, I will get match up with a lady, get married or all that. So that's when the famous hadith, innamal amalu binniyat, came from that. So a hijrat in the pure religious thing is that hijrat for the sake of Allah and His Prophet. So this is the basically essence of that, to summarize it, that hijrat did establish when people of Medina converted to Islam, and when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the 13th year of Nabuwwat, he migrated himself. And the another period was between the hijrat itself and the Treaty of Hudaybiyah that was signed in the 6th year of hijrat. And this 2-year period, hijrat was initially not allowed, because according to treaty, any Muslims who would come to Medina, they should be returned. But that backfired for Quraysh. Quraysh requested Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to remove this condition of that. And finally, that conquest of Makkah, that when Islamic State was established right in the Makkah itself, so this nullified the importance of hijrat. So inshallah, I'll stop here, and if there's any questions, inshallah, I will take it up. Wa alaikum assalam.